Well, I think it was a Pommy thing originally, and we got Ivor Lingard out from England, and he started cleaning a few blokes up with the old Cumberland throw. You throw your arm out, and that's the last you remember after you go somersaulting over the turf. So it happened to me. I was actually playing a game for Eastern Suburbs, and we played Parramatta, and Ray Price was a very good exponent of it, and I felt the full force of the old Cumberland throw, I'll tell you. Not a pretty sight.
2 final series in the 70s, and then you moved on to Penrith. What was it like in that process, moving from Parramatta out further west?
Well, I probably made a blue. I signed with Penrith a little bit before the season finished, and was already signed with Penrith before the great run at all these playoff games that come for Parramatta, and I sort of thought to myself, I said, I can smell something happening at Parramatta. The reserve grade side had won the competition. I think they'd won the competition under Terry Fernley. Like I said, the first grade side it played 7 or 8 games in a space of about 3 weeks and won just about all of them. I think we got beat in the final by Manly, who ended up playing South in the grand final. And the third grade made the semi-final. So I think we were club champions in '75. Norm Proven coached us for that 1 year and did a great job. They gave the job to Terry Fernley the following year, and we all know what happened that year. They made the grand final, got beaten, what's his name then? The run started, I think, as I said, we were club champions in '75, and I think that lasted for about 6 or 7, 8 years. And you just knew that they were going to do something, especially they bought Ray Price in '76, and Cronin came in '77, and basically you had all the right positions covered and the right players.
You had 2 years out at the foot of the mountains, and then 2 more years at the Roosters. We'll let the Panthers and Roosters fans ask you more about those. Did you feel while you're away that you still were, I guess, always coming back to Para?
I think so.
Part of Para?
Yeah, I think I'd had a couple of years at Penrith, and I wasn't doing all that great, and I thought to myself, I'm going to approach these people and find out how they feel about me, because I didn't feel too happy about the place. Not because of them, I think they were very good. I think it just that the way my mindset was, I wasn't doing well. I might be better off trying to get out and let them go their way and I'll go mine. And in between time, I had to talk to Arthur Beetson, and he was pretty keen to say, come over to East if you can get out of your contract. And which I approached Penrith, and they were only too happy to let me get out of the contract. So I made the move over to East for 2 years, which in hindsight was the best thing I ever did, because I sort of more or less went from a club that was struggling to a club that was right on top, that knew how to win. They're very professional in their outlook on the game, and they had some great players, and it sort of lifted my form back up to where I wanted it to be, and the 2 years I had there were great. I enjoyed it.
I have to ask you, you've dropped, just very casually, names of absolute rugby league legends. We've dropped Fulton, we've had Coote, now Beetson. Did you realise at the time that you were at such an important era for rugby league? Did it feel like that at the time?
Well, you knew you were some great players. If you look at the game now, the 3 or 4 of those guys I played with are what they call the immortals of the game. Artie and Bozo. Who else was the runner around? You played with a lot of them, and they were special because they could win you the big games, and I thought they were just, that's why they're called immortals, I think. Yeah.
Come back to Parramatta, home you might say, back to Parramatta in 1980. Tell me about that coming home process and sort of the lead up to 1981.
Well, I'd had a couple of years at East, and I decided that I didn't have a lot of time left, And I'd like to finish my career at Parramatta, so I spoke to Dennis Fitzgerald, and he said, well, if we can find room for you, you can come back. So I went back to Parramatta. Their three grades back in 1980 were the best three grades I'd ever come across. I never saw a club that was as strong, with the depth they had in all the grades. As I said, their reserve grade side, as I said with South, the reserve grade side would have beaten 9 out of 10 first grade sides, Parramatta. They had John Peart as coach, and I'm pretty sure it was his first year as coaching. And they had Arthur Beetson and myself back, and we were both older players. And I think after about 6 or 7 games, Pearty decided that the two of us couldn't play in the one side together. He needed a bit more, what would you say?
Diversity.
Yeah. And so sometimes Arthur would go down, sometimes I'd go down, and we went through that. Then just on the end of the season, I did a medial ligament about 3 games before the end of the season, and retired on the spot. And I just said it was time to go. I didn't quite get what I wanted out of the game as far as winning the competition, but I'd had a great career, and I was happy with that. So I pulled the pin. Arthur played in the reserve grade grand final that year, and was a terrific. His last 5 games were fantastic, and then he retired from Sydney and went back to Brisbane, and that's how it finished in 1980.